Ozonics Killerwinds podcast back again. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
We've got special guests with us today. We actually have two guests.
Yes.
We've got Ev Terrell and Jamie Dykman from Code of Silence.
Yep.
We are here, and we are going to talk about everything camo.
Yep. I think this is actually our first podcast with more than 3 people. I don't think we've ever had 2 guests.
Well, not remote guests. Because we did Montana with me,
Oh,
you, Scott,
yep,
Buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was kind of funny. We were in Montana elk hunting, and Buddy and Scott got to stay in nice cabin.
Yeah.
And Cole and Nick got to stay in cold wall tent. Yeah. All right. Well, Ev and Jamie, thank you guys so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I know, like you said, there's a lot going on this time of year. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you kind of caught us between kind of hunting windows. I was in the tree for 5 or 6 days last week, and Jamie was too. And so we're back in the office for a couple of days trying to get caught up. And I'm going to get back to the tree as soon as I can. So
Yeah, I hear you on that. Yeah, I think we're kind of trying to juggle the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like we obviously have got normal day-to-day work to do, you know what I mean? But then we're trying to create content and get out in the tree when we can. So it's
kind of a constant juggling act a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're making the most of it, I'd say.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to try to get out this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of funny, this whole conversation. We've actually got a spot that we're going to be hunting this afternoon. We've had some great encounters with some awesome bucks last week.
Yeah, last week.
And it's great to hunt on like a west wind.
Yep.
And it's really only an afternoon spot because it's really tricky to get in there in the morning. And so we're going to do this today, and then we're going to try to sneak out there. And I think the Code of Silence stuff is really going to help because it's a spot where they're going to come in. We're on a bit of a hill, so where they come in, they're going to be eye level.
Yeah.
And then when they get out in the field, we've got a little bit of cover, but it's kind of silhouetted.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to make a difference.
There's a good chance that they're going to come out basically on our lap.
Oh, yeah. They're going
Right
to come out
under
anywhere
us.
from like 5 to 10 yards. They're going to be right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited for sure.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Well,
I'm
Ev
jealous
and
you have
Jamie-
a spot to hunt. I'm jealous you have a spot to hunt with a west wind. Where most of our rivers run east and west. You know,
Okay.
they flow to the east, and so the deer are typically, traveling west. It seems like, I don't know if they go all the way around the earth and come back around, but they're always going west. And west winds, we get predominant west winds, and it's really tough for us to hunt because of it. But
Oh, really? Interesting.
And where are you guys located?
We're in Sydney, Nebraska, or
western Nebraska,
Yeah,
yes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why they're
Yeah.
mountain time. Because I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's an hour earlier there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's funny because like here we get predominantly what we get is predominantly like a northwest wind.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we usually get as a northwest wind, and for whatever reason we haven't had a lot of northwest winds here lately. This week's been a lot of south,
Right.
and we've actually
It's
had a
been
lot of
south all last week. It was
yeah.
crazy warm, and it was a good week. We saw some nice deer, but they just have not had that pre-rut, kind of build up like we were hoping for, I guess. And so
I think everybody's been. I think
we'll
we've been hearing that from everyone. Like I said, we had Zach Wren on. He's from southeast Minnesota last week, and same thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's finally doing it here.
Yeah, it feels like it. I mean, we've seen a lot of deer on their feet. I mean, just more so than normal.
Yeah.
I'd say the one weird thing is we're seeing a lot of daylight action when we're hunting.
Yep.
But it feels like our cameras have slowed down a little bit. It's weird. Like 2 weeks ago, the cameras were just lighting up. We're like, oh, we got to get out there, and we get out there, and wasn't the greatest hunting. But now it seems like we're seeing a lot more deer kind of.
Yeah,
on
and
their
like I said,
feet.
buddies that I've heard have been out, and like I said, when we've been out the last 3 or 4 days, it seems like chasing is really, really picked up for us.
Yeah.
They're really chasing hard now.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and we're North Iowa, so it's not like that's what's happening everywhere.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I definitely feel like we're definitely we stuck out yesterday morning, and then we're doing a bunch of video stuff during the day.
Yep.
That we were trying to get done, and we saw 2 or 3 bucks that were just dog and does chasing them all over the field.
Yeah.
And then that one buck right on the river.
Yeah.
That we didn't see the doe, but he was in there.
Yeah.
He'd walk out in the field, lollygag for 10 minutes, walk back in for 10 minutes, come back out for 20 minutes, walk back in for 5 minutes. So
Yeah, we're sitting there taking pictures and video, and every once in a while we're like, oh, there he is again. He's right on the edge.
Yeah, we actually did some cool stuff with a drone, and we were like doing these cool ascending and descending drone shots, and we're like, well, we'll see if this messes him up. Like, I don't know. We didn't have any place else to do it. It's like, we're going to do it right here.
Yeah, we got to get it done.
And he was like 500 yards away, so he's far enough away, but it was across a big open cornfield.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was
anyway.
Cool to see him.
Yeah, we're getting off topic. So, Ev, if you want to take it first, tell us a little bit about your background. Not even really about Code of Silence, just your background as a hunter. What you've done in your career. Just give us a little bit about that for me.
Well, I appreciate that question. Yeah, I've been around hunting and fishing my whole life, outdoors in general, and started actually right out of college in the industry. I have a biology degree. I was going to be in the wildlife sciences at some level, and a little company called Cabela's opened a retail store in Kearney, Nebraska, in 1987, and I had a degree in biology and went and applied for a aquarium keeper job in the store at minimum wage, and kind of the rest is history, I guess. It worked out for me, to move out to Sydney, which is where Cabela's headquarters was.
Yep.
I'm jokingly saying they were a little company. They were much smaller back then.
Right. If you go to that original Sydney store, I've been there a bunch of times when I've gone. When I was a younger guy in high school and in my early 20s, we would go out DIY elk hunting, and we'd always stop into Sydney, Nebraska, and go to that original Cabela's. And you walk in there the first time, you're like, this is a little disappointing, because it's super small.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy to see it.
But anyway, so I moved out to Sydney right after that, and I was, blessed to work for a company that it was really about, your passion for the outdoors and your willingness to roll up your sleeves. And I hadn't been in a buying fields by any means, but spent a lot of time in a duck blind and a tree stand and in the front end of a boat throwing jigs. And so I fit right in and started buying and designing hunting clothing for them not long after that, actually. And had a great platform and some great team members along the way. Jamie, kind of a segue over to Jamie. Jamie and I met about 10 years ago in Cabela's, and she came in. I'll let her tell her story a little bit better than I can, but Jamie and I kind of crossed paths at Cabela's, and she was just, I'm a creditor, she was just a really extraordinary person and had a huge passion for product development and attention for detail, and we kind of hit it off. And I left Cabela's and really, after building hunting clothing for literally over 30 years, you would think I'd have my fill of it, but I am not setting this up to sell our brand at all, but really thought there was a hole in the hunter's arsenal side of things, from a camouflage, warmth, quietness aspect, particularly leaning toward whitetail elevated hunting, and so I said, heck with it. I'm gonna do something. I'm not ready to. I really not a very good golfer, so I wasn't ready to just go off into the sunset. And I can look for deer horns a lot, but I kind of get bored with that too. And I just really wasn't ready to, be done with it. And so that's where Code of Silence kind of came from. But it was really founded on the need out there. It wasn't like I got, I can't give this up. Really felt as a hunter, particularly, was left with wanting something better and more complete, I guess is the way I would describe it.
Yeah.
Again, I'll let Jamie tell a little bit about her story, but I love solving problems and creating new things, and that's where Code of Silence came from. But Jamie started here last spring, and really glad that she decided to be a part of it. So
yeah, from a hunting resume, I definitely did not grow up in the hunting industry. I was from the hoity-toity suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, and
there you go.
Had no idea what hunting was. I went to the Ohio State University, so that's why I was like, Luke Fickle, I remember him. When I was in school, he was the interim coach, but I went to school for animal sciences, pre-veterinary medicine. So what brought me out west was cattle. I was a rancher and did a lot of breeding and embryo transferring, a lot of more reproductive health with cattle. And out here, there was, really no options for jobs except for, that. And when I met my husband, he's a huge bow hunter. He's the one who introduced me into the outdoor lifestyle. And down the road, here's this company called Cabela's. And it was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll stick around. And so absolutely. Ended up, starting really working minimum wage too at the DC, and ran into this guy as we were talking product, and My experience within product development and merchandising really, came and started from the hunting apparel side. But now, fast forward to today, I mean, passionate bow hunter. We do a lot of Western hunting, obviously, out here. So antelope, mule deer, whitetail is, obviously our passion too. But that's kind of my resume started a little bit different, but just crazy how when you get exposure to somebody who is passionate about it and does it well and does it right, how that just opens an awesome door to the outdoor lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy when you hear, I mean, everybody has an interesting story about how they kind of got to where they are within the hunting stuff. I mean, my story's kind of wild. Your story's kind of crazy. It's interesting to hear how things just kind of connect and people run into each other, and then it leads to one thing, leads to another. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
With you guys both talking about the Cabela's thing, and it was kind of funny. The first time I really interacted with Code of Silence was last year at the Iowa Deer Classic. And,
awesome.
We go to the consumer shows. Ozonics does a lot of shows. I mean, we aren't doing as many as we used to.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice not being on the road as much. But we do a few. You know what I mean? We always go to Harrisburg every year. We go to Iowa. We hit Wisconsin. We do a few of them. And that was my first interaction with Code of Silence was last year at the Iowa Deer Classic. And just, we don't have a lot of time during the day to walk around. So you kind of either try to go a little early one day or the last hour starts to calm down and we take turns walking around. And it was funny. When I first saw Code of Silence, what it made me think back, I'm 39 now, but in my, my late teens and in my early 20s, when I started recurve hunting, I started shooting a recurve bow. That was my bread and butter when I first started. I actually got a Matthews Q2XL. That was my first bow, and then I pretty quickly switched into a recurve. But I actually brought it with me. So I am a diehard hoarder. My wife hates it, but I keep everything. And now I can say I keep it from
good, bud.
Yeah. Now I say I keep it because my little boy Jet Kodiak, he's now 7 and he won't be far away from wearing it. But I brought all this stuff. I want to show you guys. So it's kind of funny. I actually still have the original Cabela's hanger, and this is a piece that I used to wear a ton. This was my recurve piece right here, and it's 100% wool, and then it's got 100% polyester. It's got it does have like a liner on the inside. It was like some sort of made it. I think when I got it, it was like supposed to make it so it was better for the wind or something.
Yeah.
But I wore this. Oh my gosh, I wore this. And I remember when I bought it, they were like, "Oh yeah, make sure you keep it on a hanger. Don't let it get all scrunched up and things like that." So I always kept it on a hanger. But yeah, I still have this. And then it's funny, I still have this original. I don't know if you say original, but it's just the big thing for me with a recurve is it was quiet, right?
Yeah.
It was just super quiet.
Yeah.
Right.
It just didn't make a noise.
Yeah.
And when I first started handling the Code of Silence stuff, that was the thing that really hit me right off the bat. I was like, dang, this stuff's quiet.
Yeah.
Because that was for me where it really came to. And even with this stuff too, it's funny, this isn't Cabela's. When I was a late teenager, right, I was broke. Right? So outlet stores became my thing, right? I was an outlet store maniac.
Yeah.
Thrift stores, Columbia. There was a Columbia outlet store in Milford, Minnesota, and I got this set. It's funny. We'll post a picture. I have a picture with I used to use a climber tree stand. I had a doe thrown over my back, and I was wearing this set, but it doesn't even close to fit me now. Back then, I used to be a medium. I don't even think I could get this thing over my arm now. Like, I don't know what I didn't get buff. I just got a dad bod. But yeah, you could see these old suits, man. The big thing about it is it was so quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's funny now I keep it. Even just recently, my wife is like, we need to get rid of stuff. And then we're going through some of that. And she's like, come on. Let's get rid of it. I'm like, no way. Because I know Jet's going to be louder than I'll get out there.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to be wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, that was really kind of what attracted me to the idea of the Code of Silence stuff is just the fact right off the bat is that it was just so dang quiet. And for me as a recurve hunter before, it was always a game of getting as close as I possibly could, right? Because I was a 20 and under type guy. You know what I mean? Like, so I was setting tree stands to get deer at 5 to 10 yard shots.
Right.
If I get them closer, it just made the shot easier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
but I found very quickly that a lot of the gear that I had was just loud. Like they'd catch me drawn. I would just moving. It just didn't work.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I just think it's just kind of funny to see how some of that stuff, it's kind of making a comeback. You know what I mean? I feel like unintentionally or intentionally, a lot of the camo patterns have kind of gotten away from some of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know for me, whenever I pick stuff up, the first thing I always do is I rub it together.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds, you know what I mean? Just to see how quiet it is.
Right.
And so I think the name Code of Silence, it really lives up to what it is. It is very, very quiet.
Yes.
And as we've been running it this fall, I think that it's definitely quiet.
Yeah.
You know, so good job.
Awesome. Well, appreciate that. I mean,
yeah. But the other thing I was going to ask you right off the bat is if you could just kind of tell us, you know, what is the main story about Code of Silence that you want customers to hear, or consumers or bow hunters? What's that main story of the brand that you really want to make sure that you get across to people?
Okay. That's
a big one. I was going right off the bat. I was going for a big one right off the bat.
It's the obvious question.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what is the reason for being? What is the point of difference, the point of relevance? And Jamie and I can probably tag team this a little bit, but and I'll be careful not to go off on this because I could talk a lot about this topic. But you know, in a very broad sense, you know, and I think you guys can relate and your listeners can relate. But you know, as I said, I do a lot of different things and fish a lot of walleye tournaments, for example. And I have a Loomis rod that, you know, that if I don't have that rod when I go to a walleye tournament, I mean, I feel, you know, vulnerable. If I forget that rod at home, I'm probably going to miss the first 2 hours of the tournament. I'm going to go home and get it. You know, I have long range varmint rifles that, you know, have scary light triggers that, you know, I feel comfortable, you know, that I can be efficient at 400 or 500 yards. You know, again, if I don't have that rifle with me, I feel you know, incomplete. I've never had that sense of clothing. Even, I mean, I have brought literally, I'm not patting myself on the back, but thousands of garments to the market in 30 years at Cabela's. Many thousands. I don't have one where I go, you know what, this has enabled me to, there's not a garment I owned before Code of Silence where if I forgot it when I was going out hunting, then I was going to miss the first hour of daylight and go home and get it. It just never had that sense of enablement from clothing. It's like, well, why is that? I mean, we all have bows like that. We have broadheads that fly that true. We have a release that, you know, you feel naked if you don't have it. And it's like, why hasn't that context ever carried into clothing to where it's that much of an enabler? So, well, if it could carry into clothing, what would it have to look like? And well, it would have to be, as I said earlier, you know, that complete holistic solution. So it has to be quiet. It has to provide thermal efficiency. And then concealment was the other, you know, kind of the third, you know, kind of leg on those important three prongs. You know, also have to fit really well and be, you know, functionally adequate from features and pockets and those type of things. But that quietness, thermal efficiency, and concealment were the big ones. And concealment probably standing out above all of them, even though the name would imply that quiet and that silence. We actually double define silence as audible and visual. We call our product visually silent as well, which has a lot to do with, actually, when you were holding up the products, I was smiling if you didn't notice, because particularly the original Cabela's product, and I'm not going to credit Cabela's as sort of being the first to invent what they call jacquard knitting. I'm dating myself a little bit, but your listeners, your community can relate to a guy named Bob Fratsky. Winona Knitting Mills. He was really the first to introduce jacquard knitting. So jacquard knitting is actually dyeing fibers and then knitting them in my grandma's sweater. So the camo pattern is actually knit in, but more importantly, there is way less synthetics in the outer surface. So what that gives you is light absorbance in the shell, which is how nature works. I mean, everything in nature is organic. It's very highly porous. It's obviously non-synthetic. And here we're trying to hide, in conventional camouflage clothing that is quite opposite in that. It's typically flat, it's high in synthetics, and it typically has no organic component. So in our opinion, in going to a jacquard knit and dyeing fabrics, you lower the synthetics, you create textures, and you create an organic component that highly mimics or better mimics the outdoor environment, and therefore light reflectance or / absorbance. Mm-hmm. Kind of all over the place on that. I apologize, but
no, you're good.
That's probably what's game-changingly different about our product on the concealment side.
For sure.
The way that we mimic the woods naturally, and the effect that has on animals. Again, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but I would hang a sign in our booth at the show, and you see it. I'm not going to do this, but I would if someone challenged me too hard enough, and say, if deer don't see you less than half as much, and if they do notice you, that if you don't get forgiven twice as much, bring your gear back, and you'll get your money back. So between that concealment angle and then the quietness that you've talked about, which goes very deep into the product, not just on the surface. We spend a lot of time finding technologies that provide windproofness, weatherproofness, insulations. You won't find Velcro on any of our products today. I brought some stuff in. I brought products too.
yeah. I wish I could show. I wish I could show the side over here. I've got a pile of stuff that we're going to talk about in a second, but we've got them all piled up all around us right now.
But here's our cuff. We've eliminated the conventional means of fastening cuffs down around gloves with a stretch panel. Where you can put this over the top of a glove, still put it inside of a glove if you want to, or inside. Have a release strap go underneath this effectively and not have any Velcro or noise. So it's a total approach to quietness with the concealment I talked about, and then as well as the thermal efficiency. So honestly, if I do forget this at home and you're going to your hunting spot, I'm gonna say you go on out. I'm going back to the house. It is that relevant in our opinion. So
well, it's funny you talk about that. It's funny we say that a lot at Ozonics. I mean, and I've had guys that walk up at the booth and they'll say the same thing about when it comes to Ozonics. Man, if I leave that thing at home, I'm gonna go back and get it.
Yeah.
Right. I think when it comes to bow hunting, and it's funny, I didn't coin this. There was a guy named Craig Intervold we used to help at Ozonics. He used to work for Shields actually. He was an archery and optics buyer at Shields for a long time, and he always said, bow hunting is a sport of getting close. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get close to him. Yep. And he's like, just think about it. He's like, we're trying to get close to him. And it's like, yeah, we really are. But the reality is that when you try to get close to him, all of a sudden when you're not sitting at, and nothing against rifle hunters, gun hunters, whatever that is, there's a lot of sport in that too. Man, I'll tell you what, shooting far is hard.
Yeah.
But, when you get animals close, all of a sudden that interaction, it changes. And you start to really see an animal's true behavior.
Right.
And you start to realize that their instincts and their senses and how much of a difference that makes to what they do. Mm-hmm. We talk about using an Ozonics to help eliminate your odor to try to get past this sense. And then you talk about using, code of silence or using camouflage to try to help get past that sense of their eyes and of their ears.
Yeah.
Because that was for me, like I talked about earlier, man, being a young guy and just having, I can't remember the exact first time it happened, but having deer walk in and have them trying to draw my bow and have them just look up peg. You're like, well, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Well, they heard me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Nickel, he'll attest this. I like to go high up in the tree. I'm like a 20, 25 foot guy. I don't know why. I just always go high.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but
I'm a lifeline. I use lifelines in all my stands. Lifelines are 30 feet. There's sometimes that the lifeline can't always reach all the way to the ground. You know what I mean? Because I've got her stretched out. You know what I mean? Sometimes trees are big and it takes more up at the top. But usually they're small.
Yeah.
I'm usually at the part of the tree where the tree starts to Y. You know,
any gust of wind, you can really feel it.
Yeah, we're up there. Yeah, we're like technically in the atmosphere. No.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, Nick loves heights. No, but the fact of the matter is that as a younger guy, a lot of times, like they would see me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget. When I was a kid, I used to hunt this place. It was called the Davenport Farm, And my brother-in-law, just my good friend at the time, his mom and dad lived down that road. And Marv, he would, drive to and from work or whatever. And I was in high school, so I could just like sneak out and go hunting whenever I wanted to, kind of. And he would be like, "Oh yeah, I saw you on the edge of the field." And I was like, "What do you mean you saw me?" And he's like, "Well, you look like a big black blob up there." And it's funny because it never even registered, And I was like, "Huh." I'm like, well, if he could see me, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But I think when I hear you say all that, for me, and it's funny, I don't know why it's kind of become this way for whitetail hunters. And I think it's changed, and I think what you're trying to do with Code of Silence is a great example of it. I enjoy Western hunting, right? Western big game hunting. I used to guide in Colorado. I like to go to Alaska and do a couple different things here and there. And for me, clothing, just like my backpack, just like my boots, just like my gun or my bow, it's a piece of gear, right?
Yeah.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
Right. I'll never forget when I worked in Colorado, one of the guys I worked with, he had this junky old truck. I mean, it was a pile. It was a pile. It was a Toyota Tundra that the bed had rusted off, so it made it a flatbed. It was so bad. And I didn't have a nice truck either. I had this old Chevy Silverado that my buddy let me borrow because I didn't have a truck, right? I needed a truck. And it's funny because I remember him being like, he's like, "Man, don't worry about that truck." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Man, these things, all this stuff they're tools, man."
Yeah.
He goes, "Everything we do, it's a tool. Like it's a tool that we use to try to help us be more successful."
Yeah.
And he goes, "And dude, that's like right now, everybody laughs at me. I wear Carhartt pants. Why do I wear Carhartt pants? Because Carhartt pants if a bird hits them, you can wipe it right off.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's right.
They're double fronted. I wear Carhartt pants for everywhere I go, about everything that I do. And that really started when I started going out west because I just needed something I could count on.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I don't know why, I think that really caught on for Western hunters. It really caught on in Alaska because you kind of can live or die.
Yeah.
But I think it started to really catch on for Midwestern deer hunters as well, that we need to look at our clothing like a piece of gear and a tool to help you be more successful.
Right.
Because we can all do all this stuff and spend all this time and money, hard-earned time and money, and wait until, November 9th? And you've got that buck on camera, and then you get out there and he spots you. You get out there and he smells you. You get out there and he sees you. He hears you, and it's all for nothing.
Yeah,
Exactly. And so I think that's really what's kind of gravitated me towards the Code of Silence stuff. I think it's really helped me in that way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, I think it's true. I mean, I think, like you said, and we're going to talk about when we look at some of the stuff about some of the features, like you're talking about, like with the cuffs, even on the inside of the pockets, there's like a little cuff on the inside of the pocket.
It's huge.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I have like this, I don't even know how you actually say it, but it's called like Raynaud's phenomenon. It's like a circulation thing with my hands, so my hands get really cold.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, dude, I'm constantly, you see me out there, I'm always got hands in my pockets.
Oh, yeah.
Never.
Yep.
And it's a ticking time bomb. The minute I take my hands out, it's like, okay, here we go. How much time do I got?
The clock starts ticking, right?
And I do this. I'm doing this whole thing, right? I'm like switching hands if I can with the bow, and I'm holding it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep one hand in, or I've got my hand on the bow, and then I've got my hand in here, and then I got my rangefinder, and I'm putting it back. Got my release. It's just, and it's nice with those cuffs. It just keeps it in there.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, plus you don't. If you're like me, you don't lose things either.
Yeah. Well, that's everything has its place.
Yeah. When I didn't put my rangefinder out of my pocket in the pack, it's still in there when I get back to the truck. It's like, oh, that's right, I left it in there. So
the question I had for Jamie too is, Jamie, I know, and again, I kind of cyberstalked you guys before and kind of read everything. If you see like a huge uptick on your website for some like location in North Iowa, that was definitely me.
It's you.
The last couple years, like, man, we are getting some like serious long sessions in like Northern Iowa. That was me. Yeah. If you guys, and just kind of hearing, how you guys got to know each other with Cabela's, and then in the apparel side of things, if you can kind of talk about some of the driving factors, some of the features. We always talk about features, advantages, benefits. If you can kind of go through a little bit of that with the Code of Silence gear and what those kind of things that you guys really hang your hat on with the product.
Yeah, for sure. You're speaking our language. Both of us, I call us little science nerds. Form and function is that's where like we connected. Honestly, when we met, I was reviewing a pack at some events, and I'm like a tinkerer, right? And like I said, like my background's in science. I'm a science educator. I love how like this should look like this to function like this. Like that is just ingrained in me and him. So the functionality perspective is something that we're very proud of within our gear. And Ev's already touched on these, and really the three main things are the silence, the warmth, and the concealment side. We can talk about specific features, like you said, with the cuff and everything. And I think one of the biggest things that we're proud of with this is not only do we incorporate authenticity from end users, but we incorporate these things that we really think about within product that are relevant and useful. I've have a lot of experience within product development to where sometimes you like get cute with stuff and you completely miss the whole purpose of like why things should be incorporated where. And that's something I think that, you can echo this too, that simplicity and minimalistic approach within our gear is something that's, in the forefront. On top of those three main things with silence, warmth, and concealment, we don't get cute with a lot of stuff.
Critical function.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
like essential needs and functionality for the bow hunter is something that we have incorporated in every single piece of our collection. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I've noticed that too. You know, like, I mean, even just little things in the parka jackets, they've got to be able to put your harness through the jacket. Is pretty awesome. You know what I mean? With the cuffs in the pockets, I've been really enjoying that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, that's great. Like you said, the other thing I wanted to kind of ask you about is I notice on everything, it says S18. Is there a story behind that? I didn't know if that.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was like, I saw that.
Story,
I was like, we talked about that when we got him, and of course, me and Nick were like, oh, it probably means this. We had no idea, but I figured there's got to be a story behind that S18. If you guys could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, kick it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, being at Cabela's as long as I was, and in the industry, obviously I've been around a lot of camouflages, designed our own, and heard, been a part of helping others design camouflage, and a lot of my good friends design camouflage. It's great; they're great people, but we knew, going back to the original, goal, I think to do something unique and better and different. Said, what would a different level of camouflage look like? And I think it's fairly safe to say that all camouflages are sort of, they're mostly art. Some people will say this driven by science, and there's a digital aspect inside, and okay, there very well could be, but when you really think about, at least the main camouflages, there's somebody's interpretation of what a pattern should look like to be effective, which is great. But we really wanted this to be nature's pattern. And as cliche as that is, it just said, if it's nature's pattern, what would that mean? And simple definition of that, or what we did was, we said this is going to be an elevated pattern. It needs to work in, primarily the Midwest was our original target, but there's some commonalities here that really scale. But we said, okay, if a person's going to be elevated, how high are they going to be? So we did a survey of sort of our network and came up with an average stand height of 14.8 feet. And that was to the floor of the stand.
Interesting.
But Cole's didn't skew it, right?
and Nick is at like 4 feet, so they didn't even add him onto there.
I'm a two-stick kind of guy.
Yeah.
So once we had that established, it's like, okay, well, now let's go one step deeper. And so we went around and found the 5 most common trees in the target area, and looked at samples of those 5 species of trees to find out what the branch size and density looked like at that height.
Crazy.
And I'll be the first to admit that was all over the place. I mean, you had some telephone pole type trees, and you had some of the best apple tree type climbing trees that you had when you were a kid as well. But that general or that result drove the element composition, size of the elements, and configuration of the pattern. Where this 18 comes from is we use the average hunter height of 6 feet, and then call that the belt line at 17.8 feet. versus 3 feet higher than the 14.8 average stand height, which gets you to 17.8, which rounded up. Now my biology background's coming in, rounded up to 18, and it's S stands for stand, but it's stand 18 feet is what it stands for.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that's pretty neat.
That is really cool.
Again, it would have been easy to just say, oh, let's put a little branch here and a little leaf there, and it may not have been like crazy different, but we really wanted this to be completely objective and completely, I guess, unbiased on what the pattern should represent.
Yeah, no, that's.
I think it works. I mean, it's funny because I can, in so many different trees, that basic what we call the skeleton of the pattern gives you that initial breakup and everything else. I mean, it works well with the light reflectance, which we actually think is probably more important. But the two in combination, it's pretty cool.
Yep.
So.
No, and that's one thing that stuck out to me too when I first saw the camo. It's like you go out hunting and you look in the woods, like everything has that kind of dull gray. It's not very sharp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost like dull is the new cool.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
for with what this is, it's the dull. It makes sense.
Yeah,
because it is all dull out there.
Yeah,
it is, especially. You get second half of October, once the leaves start falling off.
Exactly.
We're in November 9th, and it is dull here.
Yeah, and it's like...
It's just dull.
Yeah, you look at that camo, and it's like, man, it matches it really, really well, I think. I love it so far.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We were talking about this before the podcast, and I think I was mentioning this earlier about how, I feel like over the last how many years I've really become kind of like the camo collage. Mm-hmm. Because I just kind of hodgepodge.
Oh, yeah.
What I need together. There's actually a funny story. There's somebody that we all know, a guy named Jeff Bergman.
Guy.
Yeah, a couple years ago, Jeff's like, "Hey, I want you to go out and do some photos with this." We had this thing called the Kinetic Air. It was this little pack little rubberized deal that you could fit your Ozonics in. He's like, "Go out and do some pictures." Like, okay. So, and he's like, "I kind of want them with like a sunrise, like see if you can get some sun flare in there." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, "All right." So we went out. At the time there was just like me here,
Yeah.
and so kind of like lined out a couple buddies to come, and we didn't have near the gear that we have now, but we got the pictures done. Well, I was pretty excited about it. I thought it turned out really good. So I sent them to Jeff, and Jeff's like, he calls me. He was not mad, but he was just kind of like laughing, but he was kind of like, just how he is. And he's like, "What am I supposed to do with these?" And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Do you know how many camo patterns you have on?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I counted 7 different camo patterns," and that was true. That was a true thing. And I think for me, and I've said this to you, I know even before the season, you were like, "Gosh, I need to get some stuff for cold weather." And I just kind of hodgepodging together, and I don't know what to get. And I said, "Man, if I were you, what I would tell you to do is buy off what you need, not off what you want."
Right.
And I think a lot of people, when it comes to buying camouflage, they just buy what they want.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you want to go buy it. But I think a lot of people just kind of buy what they want. They don't really buy based on what they need. Hence why I wore the same old Cabela's MTO50 Real Tree AP bibs forever because I just wore them and they worked. And, they worked really good until the zippers finally broke and they had a bunch of cuts in the butt from when I caught them on my tree stand seat and stuff like that. And I finally had to stop wearing them.
Yeah.
But I just didn't get a new pair because I didn't really need a new pair. I just wanted a new pair. They worked. They functioned just fine.
Yeah.
But I think with this Code of Silence stuff, I mean, when you really start to look at the features and look at the advantage, look at the benefits, and you start to really think about how can I try to give myself that little bit of an extra edge?
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, it's like I gravitate towards it not only just because of what I'm hearing these guys talking about, but it feels to me so much like Ozonics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of what we're trying to say is very the same. It's like if you want that little extra bit, that extra 10 feet, 10 seconds, 10 yards, to get that shot off.
Yeah.
That's what an Ozonics can help you do. And I think this Code of Silence stuff can help you with that too.
Right.
And so, I don't know, I think it can definitely help fill that need. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Let me kind of pile on there a little bit. Is what you just kind of touched on indirectly is a lot of the motivation. And I hope people aren't offended by this comment, but in my opinion, as much as people talk about camo, I like this one. That one's the best. This new one's, and God bless them. It's great. But I would almost challenge that the industry in general has sort of become non-believers in camouflage. Based on I'm the same way. I used to wear 4 different versions and was trying to make my friends at Mossy Oak and Realtree and everything kind of happy and be neutral. But you see so many hunters now, and again, hope this isn't offensive, but they have a black hat on, a baseball. They're hunting a black baseball hat, and they can't get their arrow fletching more brighter. They have giant, orange or green logos on their clothing. They might even have panels. You've even seen a lot of the supposed hunting clothing companies coming out with solid color versions of their product. And again, no, not throwing mud at anyone, but that does not look like an industry or a group of hunters that is bought into the fact that concealment is a weapon. Mm-hmm. And that was really a motivation to say, well, why is that? And I really believe it's because the results weren't there to make someone really want to push it to that outside limit to, close that loop and get a benefit, because I don't think they were getting it. And I think we know why they weren't getting it, and it was a lot because of the light absorbance we're talking about. And I don't care how good your camo is, if you're walking out there with a flat polyester face fabric, you are going to reflect light completely different than the surroundings you're trying to hide in. Mm-hmm. And I can have 2 things. I can have a burlap sack that's color A, and I can have a plastic bag that's color A. And obviously, which one's easier to see in the woods? That surface and that light reflectance we can relate to as people. And again, I'm sorry I'm going off here, but here's something I think will really resonate with people is we all know ghillie suits, pinnacle of camouflage, right? And at the same time, to bucket all other fabrics, all other clothing down way below that and say that's in one bucket. So you have all clothing down here in one bucket, and you have ghillie suits up here, and there's nothing in between. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, there is something in between, and that's what we're really trying to manage to. So.
Yeah.
To echo even... Go ahead. Sorry.
No,
I'm
sorry to go off. Very passionate, as you can tell.
Yeah, it goes back to... honestly what you guys were saying too, where you look at our camo pattern and you look at our products and you're like, oh, it's dull was the word you used. And it's like, I'm sitting here grinning and it's like, that's the point. Like what we have seen in the industry for years is, and I'm a matching camo type person. I like to look good, but at the same time, you're like missing. And what I've evolved my mindset too, of where you focus more on things that are like printed pretty, or like, oh, that looks so nice and crisp. Like, so the garment itself is so like we're looking at it from a very subjective way instead of looking at it like just because it looks pretty from a printing perspective and all this leaf is nice and like perfect, you're missing the whole point of what that camo is supposed to do for you. So, and that goes back to even, you talked about our jacquard, knitting technique that we have within here. The fabrics that we choose are organic fabrics. All of that leads back into this high light absorbency, low light reflectancy. And when you see the industry leading towards having things that actually look pretty and are printed shiny, it's like you were missing even what you said, like the silent side. Like these are 2 key things, and I'm kind of getting on my high horse, but those are like very simple things that like we have seen a big miss, and that's what has really helped drive the necessity for offering something that's like, this is really what's going to help you guys. Like,
and you can say we're full of it, and we've heard so many gimmicks about camouflage this, and that's fine. It's still crazy warm, crazy quiet, crazy. It's not like there's a trade-off that in buying into the concealment side of our products in other ways. It's still great hunting clothing, it fits great, everything else. So there's a lot going on to complement the concealment side that we're talking about as well. So.
Yeah, the 2 things that I was going to say about what you guys were just talking about there is first, what I really enjoy about this is, and if you don't know me, I'm a pretty passionate guy, right? I get a little excited. And I'm
Awesome.
very, very passionate about Ozonics, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And whenever we go to the shows or I get around people that don't know much about Ozonics, I'm about shaking people, right? Because I get real excited. And people will say, like, man, I really, really enjoy your passion. Because I think that's important, you know? And I'm like, oh, thanks. And I feel like I can hear your guys' passion about what you're doing in just this conversation. And I think that's a huge thing. It's as cliche as it say, it's like made for bow hunters by bow hunters. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I enjoy the passion. I enjoy that part of it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing that's kind of crazy.
I hope we're not turning this into an infomercial. We are not salespeople by any means. I would tell you there's some challenges with our stuff. Our stuff is because it is so fluffy and fuzzy and light absorbing. That if you're in bird infested environments, sometimes you're gonna cuss a little bit.
Okay. May need to think twice of how you walk in. Like,
yeah. Well, I would say,
and where you walk in.
I think that's the thing for us is like I'm not, and I've always been this way already. I don't wear stuff on the way in and out.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Right.
I don't know what it is about me. I don't know what it is, but man, I can like walk to my office and I'm sweating. I mean, I'm wearing a sweatshirt right now without the air conditioning on because this office is like right where the sun beams down. So like it gets hot in here and I'm sweating now, you know? So I never wear stuff on the way in and out, but yeah, I mean, it is going to pick burrs, you know what I mean? So you got to be careful with that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I always just find myself putting it all on the base of the tree. You know what I mean? The other thing I was going to say about what you were talking about a minute ago, I thought was interesting. And I don't know if there's any truth to this or not, but you talk about the light reflectancy. Have you ever noticed, and it just kind of hit me when he was talking about that a minute ago, checking trail cameras. And I was just, if you look back at your trail cameras from years past, or if you're just, because again, I'm always usually just wearing like a base layer or mid layer on the way in. Yeah. If you walk past the camera or you walk past to go change a card or just walk past it, the camo doesn't look camo.
No.
It looks flat colored.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any truth to that. Is that like the light reflectancy? Because it doesn't look like camo. And I'm always like, why can't you see the camo pattern in a night photo on a camera? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is I was looking back. So this Cabela's thing, this wool, I was looking back. I was like, when did I get this? I was trying to look back at my phone, and I got all the way back to 2009. I found a picture of me with it on in 2009, and it was a night photo, but you could see it just fine. You could see the total camo pattern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's knitted. It's not just a polyester that, the camo pattern's on. But all my pictures, if I walk past it with a base layer on or a mid layer,
right, and
it's like a Sika Fanatic hoodie or something, it just looks like it's not camo. It's just flat color.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the light reflectancy. Yeah. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, and I'm kind of teeing this up a little on the scent side, and what you guys represent. I think it's the same in scent as it is in the visual side, as it is in the audible side as well. Deer or humans or really, all creatures don't micromanage through their senses. They are, your brain is detecting important information and exceptions. If a deer walk through the woods dissecting every tree, every bush, every rock, trying to decide if it was camo in a person or an actual true object, they'd starve to death. And they walk through the woods and try to find exceptions, and just being a non-exception, I think, or being non-bad, it gets you a long ways home. I think it's the same thing with scent. They don't walk through the woods going, "That's smell that tree, smell that rock, smell that cattail swamp." It's they're looking for those exceptions, and that's what I love about your guys' system is it allows me to I can apply the same thing to my release strap, my rangefinder, my socks. It's not just the outer clothing or something like that. It's a complete system that allows me to take all weak links out of it, which is really what we're trying to do visually and audibly with our system. And be the not provide exceptions that deer are going to detect, and I hope that makes that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I think Scott, the owner of Ozonics, I've heard him say this before, and it's funny. When I used to guide in Colorado, I would talk to clients a lot about this. he would always say with Ozonics, the nice thing is you're not affecting an animal's behavior. You're just going to see them just acting normal.
Yeah.
Which sounds really silly, but I think what we naturally, inherently do unintentionally is we affect an animal's behavior. When I used to guide in Colorado, a lot of guys would come on elk hunts. They've never elk hunted before. Okay, well, they don't know how an elk acts. They don't know their behavior.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I would just tell them, it's like, hey, man, if you hear what sounds like a bark, that's not good. If their head's down, they're feeding, they probably don't know we're there. If they turn and look at us and they're just like, and they probably see us. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we naturally, as predators, affect an animal's behavior, whether it's by them seeing us, them hearing us, them smelling us.
Yeah.
We affect their behavior.
Yep.
And so I think we're trying not to, but
Right.
we do, Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing I wanted to kind of jump into is I want to talk a little bit about the gear that we've been running with.
Yeah.
And kind of go through, I'm a real dork about everything goes in my backpack a certain way. So when I get there, I don't have to like sift through.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to kind of go through it and what we've been wearing and how we've been getting into it and getting out of it.
Yep.
So again, in Iowa, we've had a pretty warm year. It's been pretty warm.
For the most part,
yeah,
it's been warm.
we had a real good late cold October, which was awesome.
Yep.
We had some like 12-degree days that got up to we were starting down at like 12 or 18 degrees, only got up to like 33 with some stiff winds, and it really kind of like picked things up for us around here. Now it's kind of gotten a little warmer again. Like today's high of 50, but this morning it was like 31.
Yeah.
So it's like lows in the 30s, highs in the 40s, 50s. That's what it's kind of been doing now.
Yep.
But geez, we were out the other day and it was like 47 with a 20-mile-an-hour straight west wind, and it had a bite.
Oh yeah.
Obviously it's the Midwest, so it's not Western states where we've got raw dry air. It's real humid.
Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of cold can kind of bite through you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So usually I walk in real light. I'm always just in, I honestly, it's funny. I usually just wear Carhartt pants.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll wear a pair of flannel lined Carhartt pants.
Yeah.
And then I usually have on a mid-layer base layer or base layer mid-layer, or just a base layer.
Yep.
And then when I get to the tree, generally what I'll do is the first thing that I'm wearing is I was going round and round. I decided to do the cold fall bibs.
Yep.
Because from my perspective, I was like, I just want to get the warmest ones.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? Especially for bibs, right?
Yeah.
Like with my legs don't usually get that cold, but I was like, I just want to know that I'm not going to have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about bibs compared to pants is, and it sounds silly, but when you're wearing pants and you don't have a bib on, you can feel that air kind of go up your back.
Yep.
With that
It's
bib,
hard,
it kind of it kind of comes up to your core, and it helps with that from my perspective. The thing I'll really say about these cold fall bibs that I really like is they zip all the way up to your hip.
Yep.
So if you're walking in, and there's been a few times where we've walked in on wet mornings and we're walking through a field and you're getting all muddy.
Yeah.
And it ends up making it look like you had an accident at the bottom of your top of your bibs, you know what I mean? Because you're getting like mud all over your bibs.
Yeah.
But you can get these on pretty good around your boots.
Oh yeah.
And then zip them up. And the cool thing too, they zip up from the top and the bottom.
Yep.
So if you get in and because these are the warmest ones they have.
Yeah.
If you get a little hot, you can unzip them.
Yeah.
So I usually start by putting on my cold fall bibs.
Yep.
And then from there, that's the funny thing. We both have a parka.
Yep.
That's usually one of the last things I put on, but I haven't even had to wear the parka yet.
No.
You have the cold fall parka.
Yep.
I have the Zone 7 dialed parka.
Yep.
So yours is
Yep.
his is the heaviest,
Yep.
warmest. Mine's the step down.
Yeah.
Right.
But the funny thing is we've had temperatures down into I think when it was in the teens, you had that. You had the cold fall jacket on.
Yeah.
But besides that, I've just had worn the hoodie and the vest.
Yeah.
And we'll go through that now. I haven't even had the need to wear the parka. No. I mean, the one thing I'll say is it is warm.
Yeah.
Holy guacamole, it's warm. It is warm.
Yeah.
And I think I've always known about this, and I don't know if I just knew about it. I think probably just from my brother-in-law's dad and from my grandpa and people that taught me. What really keeps you warm is airspace, right? Like you want to talk about an animal that a lot of people don't ever think about with this. Look at an antelope. How do you think an antelope does not look like it could keep itself warm?
Yeah.
anywhere. Those things, they stand out there in the middle of the winter out in those western states, and it can get cold, and they just stand there. Well, why is that? Their hair is actually hollow, right? And so the wintertime, they actually fluff their hair out, and that creates that airspace to help keep them warm.
Right.
So that's how an antelope being is just looks like nothing to it, can stay warm.
Right.
And I think that's what's awesome about all this coat of silence stuff is you can feel kind of the fluff and puffiness of it, where that's helping you stay warm.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Exactly.
So then from there, this is the verdigris hoodie. So this is what I've been wearing instead of like the parka.
Yeah.
And I've been wearing it again from like, in the high teens to the 40s. Like I just wear this.
Yeah.
If it's like today, we're going to go out and it's going to be about 50, but it's going to get down to like 32 by the time it gets dark.
Pretty windy too.
Yep. And it's like a 20-mile-an-hour wind. I'll probably just wear this.
Yeah.
And then I'll wear the Zone 7 Versa vest.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
But again, cool thing about this is it's got a pocket all the way across the front. It also has a zipper pocket in the front that you can put a release in or something that you don't want to accidentally have fall out of your pack or fall out.
As a cameraman, I've been using that zippered pocket on the front of the hoodie like a lot.
Yeah.
Just putting random stuff in there, whether it be batteries, little mounts, or anything.
Yep.
It's a great spot for it. It's just right there.
Or your cell phone. I mean, that's all
exactly.
real, It's with you. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And that goes back to a very simplistic feature that's like, you don't have to get cute with stuff. It's very functional.
Yeah, exactly.
We pride ourselves on adding features like that.
So like you said, from a fit, as we're going through this, I'm 39 years old. I've got a dad bod, so I'm probably about 225.
Yep.
So I wear a size extra large.
Yep.
Everything I feel like from my perspective is fit great at that XL number. You're at about a 2XL for most of it.
Yeah, I'm 25, got a dad bod. Not a dad yet, but
Dude, it's called a pre-dad bod.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right.
Yeah. Dude, dad bods are in. My wife tells me dad bods are in.
Yeah.
I'm going with it. I'm telling you, it's a thing.
Yeah.
No, and then like you said, so then we get to the Zone 7 Versa vest.
That's
Dude,
my favorite piece by far.
I've been loving it.
I love that
and
thing.
again, we talk about features, advantages, benefits. It's got the hole in the back so you can sift your safety harness line through it, which is pretty sweet. Again, nice pockets,
Those pockets
for your release.
are awesome.
Yeah, pockets are sweet. And again, I'll wear this as an outer layer instead of wearing the jacket.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've been getting away with this the majority of the time.
Yeah.
Just the vest.
And as a cameraman too, when I film, I don't wear any gloves just because I can run the camera better without it. And a lot of times, and I hunt in a saddle as well, I just lean back and put my hands in those pockets, and I mean, it's all I've needed. I haven't had to wear gloves yet. So it's pretty solid.
Yeah. So like I said, for me, it's been mostly the hoodie and the vest.
Yeah.
I think, just that one time when it was in the teens where we were like, okay, let's put on the parkas.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when it comes to the parka, one of the things I was going to say too that I think is kind of interesting about the camouflage, which you're not going to, it's funny because I didn't even really notice it on the website, and then just seeing it now and then seeing it in person, and it sounds really weird to say, but there's a lot of camo on the apparel.
Yeah.
Even little silly things there's camo on the inside of the hood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because I don't usually wear a jacket with the hood up, but the hood's down and then you see the camo on the inside.
Exactly.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of camo on it.
And that's purposeful,
That
not
was
to
intentional.
interrupt, but I
Yep.
mean, that's,
I figured.
Going back to what I said earlier on that, people are not really buying in from a design standpoint to designing garments that have that total concealment. And you'll see it on our wrist cuffs. You'll see it inside of our hoods. You see it really, there is no, solid banding like you would see on a normal elastic bottom on a coat. And so there's no weak point on the concealment side, and we're not, just trying to create that just to be different. We think it's relevant. We really do.
Yep.
So.
And then, like you said, we talked about this earlier, but on the pockets, and it's kind of hard to show it here, but when you stick your hand inside of it, you feel like this little cuff that your kind of hand just kind of boop, goes inside of.
Yeah.
And you can kind of feel your hand kind of sticks when you pull it back out.
Yeah.
And it kind of just creates its own little warm little spot in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then, like you said, the nice thing too, and again, this sounds really silly to say, but I really like the drawstring at the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you control it way better than I can.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
It's cool.
yeah,
Pretty overcritical on stuff we don't do right or wrong. That's something we got right. I mean, it's so inexpensive, you know. I mean, it costs us something to add that, but it's, you know,
It's a very
immaterial in the grand scheme of things. But like you say, when you put a hand warmer in that versus just a regular open, and it's 3 times warmer, and I think we all would agree that the less is more on your hands when you do come out.
right.
yep.
You know,
exactly.
and you're running your release or your rangefinder or whatever it is, and but that clock's ticking, especially at 9 degrees, and the warmer. If your hands come out and they're toasty warm, your clock just got 3 times longer on that in that opportunity, and that's a big deal. So.
Yeah. And then the other thing I'll say too that I really like is it kind of feels like there's material where you need it, and then there's not material where you don't.
Yep.
You know, on the inside of both arms. So when you're drawing your bow, whether it's a compound bow or recurve bow, it's got kind of like this Berber style, like, you know, fluffier kind of that sticks out, but then on the inside, it's smoother.
Yeah.
So if
It's more of a felt. It's more of a felt type product versus
Fleece
the Berber.
wool versus Berber wool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like that as well. It's just shorter. So when you're drawing your bow, it's not like it's going to be catching.
Yep.
Like I said, I've been wearing the Zone 7 dial jacket. You have the cold fall jacket.
Yep.
You know, again, difference is the cold fall is a bit puffier.
Yeah.
And man, you could bring that thing down
Right.
to just about, geez, I don't know what. It is like holy guacamole warm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. It's 4-wheel drive for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like with me being a cameraman, it's like that's like one of the biggest things is staying warm. You know, just because like I got to be up there, and it is a different mindset when you're hunting and being a camera. When you're hunting, you know, you're moving around, kinda. You're getting ready, and when you're filming, you're just kind of sitting there. And it's like it pays to have the warmest stuff possible, just so you know that you're there and going to be ready.
And then the last thing I was going to talk about, which it's funny because I'm not usually a stocking cap guy.
Yeah.
I'm usually just I've got this old nasty Kuyu hat that I've had forever.
Yeah.
That's got a real stink to it.
And when you guys were talking about something that you drive back before a hunt, if he doesn't have his Kuyu hat,
oh my gosh, I just lose it. Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah, it's been around.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's funny. So I got the stocking cap, and it's the Zone 7 Versa stocking cap.
Yep.
They've got a couple different stocking caps. I ended up getting the heavier weight one.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds cliche to say, but dude, your head gets hot.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing the whole, like I have it on, then I have to like take it off my ears, then I take it all the way off, then I put it back on. It is warm, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I am telling you, it's a warm hat.
I usually steer people to the one down just because.
I would probably say the same thing. I probably kind of wish I would have got the one down.
It's definitely warm, but it's like
it is warm. It's wild how warm it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want a really, really warm hat, do this one. If you don't want to get a hot head, maybe go the one step. Is the one step down the verdigris hat? Is that what it is?
The verdigris hat. It's almost identical style wise.
Yep.
Okay.
One just has a kind of a windproof barrier in it, and then the other cap does not. I just told 2 customers yesterday, they're like, oh, there's a Zone 7 cap. I need that wind protection. I'm like, no, you don't.
You may not need it.
The 0 degrees, maybe, but still don't wear it in. I mean, you will, in exertion, you'll perspire in that cap you have, and it's great. Put it on when you get there. That type of deal. Wear your Kuyu hat in, and then put that over the top.
Yeah. My Kuyu hat usually goes to the bottom of the pack because it's got a bit of a
yeah.
I always say that like if you ever get in a real pinch, you could like scratch some dirt and sweat and mud off of it and like patch something.
Start a fire. Have a fire starter.
Seriously, it's pretty nasty. Yeah.
Handy. Yeah. You're always thinking ahead, dude.
Listen, and I tell everybody it gets cleaned once every couple of years. Right. I end up out in a rainstorm and it gets all cleaned up. You just got to deal with the muddy drops dripping off the bill. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Scott gets a little frustrated. He doesn't. I should wear an Ozonics hat more. So I do wear Ozonics hats on podcasts. But that's my favorite hat.
Yeah.
And until it completely wears out, it's just gonna keep on keeping on. Yep. But that's the thing that I would say too about everything. Like you said, they've got the Zone 7, and then they've got the Zone 7 dialed, and then they've got the cold fall. When you're looking at kind of the series. The cold fall is that really, really super duper warm if you're going to be out there in super cold weather. I naturally gravitated toward that because for me, being in the Midwest, and this year hasn't really been conducive because we've just got work to do. But I really try to do a lot of all-day sits, and I'm going to try to get some all-day sits in here shortly.
Yeah.
And so, man, you don't feel the cold when you walk in. Usually you kind of get sweated up. In the first couple hours, you're fine. But when you're trying to sit from like after 10, 11 o'clock, and you're trying to make it into that afternoon, that cold can sit in on you.
Yeah.
And that's what I naturally gravitated towards that cold falls like, because I'm like, man, I don't want to get cold.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, cold is kind of the invisible enemy to every bow hunter.
Yeah.
It will bite you at the worst possible moment.
Yeah.
It's not like when we're practicing out north of town, shooting at the targets all summer long. It's not like that.
No.
That's not what it's really like when you actually get in that hunting situation.
Right.
You're usually a little cooled down. You're shivering. Your hands are cold. It's just different.
Yeah.
And so that's why I naturally gravitate towards the cold fall. And I think that was kind of your thing too.
Yeah. 100%.
Not only as a bow hunter, but then obviously when we're trying to hunt together, you're usually just sitting there and not moving even more than I am. I'm kind of standing up looking around.
Yeah.
You're just kind of sitting there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but yeah, like you said, I think we've had great luck with it.
Oh yeah.
And again, I keep coming back to that whole thing of, what do you need and what you want?
Yeah.
And I think this is really, for me, it kind of fits a need that I feel like I was kind of missing from way, way back.
Yeah.
I had that before when I used to be a recurve guy, and when I had all that stuff that I kind of hodgepodge together. And then since then, it's just been kind of a random, I buy this, I buy that, I have this, I have that.
Right.
Oh, I kind of like that. I could make that work, But anyway, so yeah, like I said, and it's nice to match.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Jamie's saying, like I like to look pretty too. You know what I mean? Like I like to look pretty.
No, everybody does.
It's hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to look pretty, but I try. No, but the next thing I was going to ask you about too, guys, is, where can you, if a guy's, somebody's listening to the podcast now or watching these micro clips, where can you find it? Obviously, you guys, it's codeofsilence.com. Yep. And we have seen it in Shields. We were down in Des Moines. We were actually in there. They were like, hey, look.
Yeah.
And so we were like messing with a bunch of stuff. But where else can you guys find it if a guy is looking for it?
Yeah, Shields, to your point, is our biggest, retailer. We do, we have lots of, I call them mom and pop type archery shops, but that's intentional too. We've had some really, really good partners who, are looking for higher quality product at a great, price offering for their customers. Yep. And so there's a lot of archery shops that are starting to carry our stuff, which we're excited about. You can check out all of our retailer, partners on our website. You can go to the Find a Retailer. Okay. All the Shield stores, the archery
Sportsman's
Guide also has it on online. But
Archery Country in Twin Cities has been a great partner.
They're awesome partner. Yep.
Cool.
Nice. And as you've heard throughout our conversation, there's an awful lot of a story to tell, and a lot of application for the serious bow hunter, and that's where we really cherish those partnerships with the authentic local dealers, because they can help us tell that story. That's something that's really hard to do online, and love our online partners. Don't get me wrong, but it's just nice to have someone that can be our spokesperson really at a retail store and have something different. And we kind of heard that, the small dealer can't sell clothing, and we took that a little bit of a challenge, didn't we, Jamie?
Yeah.
And say, well, if the value's there and the uniqueness and the relevance is there, is that really true? And so far they've done really well with it. So.
It's refreshing to see some shops be like, this is what we've been looking for so long, and we work with them to make it, feasible within their business model and our business model. It's been really exciting to have those partners within the local archery shops for sure. It's
funny. Just kind of related topic, but one of the challenges we have, is, and again, I'm not trying to make this an infomercial, but our price points are very affordable. And Jamie, you want to touch on that just a little bit?
I smile big because, that's something that both of us are super proud about. Within our, we have a small team, but a lot of experience behind the team. From the product development cycle and from really bringing a product from a concept to design to in a consumer's hands, that's through us and our relationships with our manufacturers. So we're able to
because of our backgrounds.
Yeah, because
thank you for the people that offered that
yeah,
to
for
us.
sure. Our experience, like I'm super blessed to have, come from the city, and it's funny because, Ohio is actually one of the best whitetail deer states.
Yeah.
Who knew once I left to figure that out? But our experiences have really helped us be able to develop these products efficiently at a high quality and then offer it at a very value price. And that wasn't like where we placed it. Wasn't intentional.
We didn't come in and go, we're going to be half
right.
price of the rest of the world. It wasn't
Right.
that. It was like, it was a little bit of that Cabela's kind of old school.
Just wanting to do it right and wanting to do it well.
If we can buy a coat for X, we should be able to retail it
Yep.
at a fair price for this. And that's, it kind of landed us in a place where it's pretty affordable. The coat, the dialed in coat, we're at $230 retail on that for a 4-layer high feature crazy warm coat. And there's alternatives out there that are twice that or even more than twice that. And it's hard for somebody to go, yeah, right, it can't be as good. And
that's the challenge, yeah.
Well,
like where you can
we
buy,
can raise the price if you want,
right?
That's no problem. If you
It's-
feel better about it, I can charge you more. but-
Right. That's where it is hard to be able to educate the consumer like that. So those retail partners are great for us because when they do look at a competitor, the top is this price and our top and bottom is the same price.
Yep.
You go right away to think, oh, this has got to be better quality because it's higher priced. And it's like we kind of are disrupting that. Now, like I said, out of the gate, that wasn't intentional, but we have an education side that is going to be, it's going to take time. And really how we overcome that is getting this in people's hands and like, just try it. If you're not happy with it, call us. And our phone number goes directly to the three of us, like Darren.
There'll be
myself.
7 messages on my phone when I get off. We're gonna
But
be
it's just like,
talking to at lunch,
it's something to where it's going to be an education piece that we already know is a little bit of a challenge, but we're very excited and proud that we're able to provide quality products like this at a reasonable price.
Yep, right. Absolutely. No, and I think there's a lot to what you just said there. Like I said, I think Ozonics, we go through the same thing, right? We were in retail, we left retail, now we're back in retail. We're selling. It's selling on our website. We sell online, but we also sell in Shields as well.
Yep.
And I think
awesome.
to kind of piggyback off what you're saying there, I think what you guys are in the middle of going through is the fact of what Ozonics has gone through in the past. You bestow the responsibility on the retailer to educate the customer, right?
Yeah.
And there's a responsibility in that, and to make sure that when a customer or when a hunter goes in there to look at something, that they can really, have somebody that can talk to them and educate them about how the product works.
Right.
And I also, and again, I'm going to kind of stand on my soapbox a little bit. We kind of live in this day and age where, and again, it's just the cycle of the world that we're in right now. It seems like it kind of repeats itself, right?
Yeah.
But the part of the cycle we're in right now is everything is really, really expensive.
Yeah.
Right? I'm married 5 kids. Okay. We go through like 3 to 4 gallons of milk a week. I can tell you how much milk is. And for whatever reason, my little girl, Bo Daisy, she loves to make eggs. So we go through a lot of eggs, right? I know it's all expensive, And to your point, Jamie, you can go look at some of the gear that's out there and it's dang expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's crazy. You look at it and it's like, man, and I'll be the first to tell you, I've bought some of it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to explain it to my wife to justify the, $200 to $400 to $500 price tag, right? Like, and again, some of the stuff from my perspective, gear is like a tool. And like when I go to Alaska, man, there's some stuff that I bought that is dang expensive.
Yeah.
And does it really help me? Yeah, it really does. And it probably keeps me safe. I know it does. I know it has.
Yeah.
But again, it's just crazy when you go and look at how much the price tags of some of that stuff are. And that's what I think is really interesting about Code of Silence is you guys aren't way up there. It's not like a pair of bibs are $489. You know what I mean? You can go and you can look at a pair of bibs and a jacket for almost the exact same price of what you're just going to get one of something else, And so, and I think too, it's weird because in what Ozonics does, I think, and I always say belief is proportional to price, right? And it takes a lot of belief for somebody to invest in $2 to $4 to $500 Ozonics unit. Because they're like, well, man, I could just go get a bottle of spray for $12.99. You know what I mean? So belief is proportional to price. But it's funny, that's in the scent control side of things. But when it comes to apparel, it's the opposite. If it's more expensive, it must be better.
Yes.
Which is just weird.
It is.
And I think that you guys probably are right in the middle of that right now, because you go to Shields and they've got 2 aisles of Sitka stuff, and you could walk down the aisle and buy and grab a base layer, a mid layer, a jacket, a vest, a pair of bibs. And man, I don't know what it cost you.
Yeah.
Well over $1,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And so, but that's what people do.
Yeah.
And I've done that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, so I think it's interesting, and I think that's really awesome, and I think that's awesome that you guys can hang your hat on the fact of, from your guys' perspective, and as a business, you're trying to just create good product for a fair price.
Yeah.
And, just like Ozonics too, we don't have a ton of people. Like, everybody thinks that all these hunting companies are these huge, big, wow, you guys got to have like 400 or 500 employees, 200 or 300 employees. It's not like that. Like, I'll never forget, I was in Birmingham, Alabama. The World Deer Expo in Birmingham, Alabama. It's always in July or something like that. It's always stupid hot there. Muck Boots was there. This was years ago. And this guy walks up and he's like, "Hey, man, I love Ozonics." I'm like, "Cool." I'm like, his name was Cole, of all things. I'm like, "Hey, my name's Cole." I'm like, "Hey, cool. Bros from another mother,
We must be
And
friends.
Yeah, we should become best friends. Yup.
Yes.
And we're talking along, and I said, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I work for Muck Boots." And I was like, "Oh, cool, man." He's like, "Yeah, come on over. Like, get you sized up. I'll get you a pair of boots." And I was like, "Oh no, man, I'm good." He's like, "No, man, I'll just give you a pair." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Sweet." So we went over there, and he's like, "Which ones do you have?" No, I said, "Man, I've got a pair of old." I actually just threw them away. We were telling you about Tatum made me go through stuff. I had to throw away my Muck Woodlands. They were nasty. And so I was like, "Man, I really could use a pair of those Woodlands. I've had those forever." And I made a comment. I said, "Man, that's got to be cool work for a big company like Muck Boots, Like, man, that's got to be crazy. Like, got to be a whole pile of you." He started laughing. He goes, "Ask me how many people work at Muck Boots." How many people work there? He's like, 4 people. He's like, 4 people work for Muck Boots. He's like, it's 4 people. He's like, that's actually work for Muck Boots. He's like, yeah, we've got lots of partners and people that build stuff for us and everything else, but it's only a handful of people that actually work for Muck.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not like that. Ozonics is no different. Everybody thinks Ozonics is like 200 employees. We've got like 12.
Yeah.
I mean, how many do you guys have? There you go, 3. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Kind of a 2.
Darren's not here, and Darren's a full-time farmer, and great partner, and does an awesome job. And
there's nothing wrong with the companies that have built themselves up to that, right? Like what Gore has become, like what Matthews has become, what Easton Hoyt has become. That's amazing. It's not like they did it overnight. You know what I mean? Some of those companies have 25, 30, 40, 50-year stories. Yeah. That's amazing, and they've earned the right to be where they are, and that's cool. But I think that's what's so fun about the hunting space is there's a guy named Ev and Jamie that just are starting this and are how many years into it, and they're trying to make it work.
Yeah.
And there's a guy named Scott Elrod that's doing the same thing,
right?
And he's almost 20 years into it.
Yep.
But if you asked him, that 20 years just flew by like a snap.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that's pretty cool, So I think that's a good way to end it. Yeah. That's a real feel-good moment. I'm pretty happy with what I just said there. I think it's cool. It's like I said, if you're out there, like I said, check out Code of Silence. It's codeofsilence.com. Like you said, if you see of any of our videos right now, of any of the stuff on Instagram, on TikTok, we're sporting it.
Oh yeah.
We're sporting it today.
Yes, we are.
Hopefully doing one of these. That's actually me shooting a doe, so I'm pretty proud of that. Bam. The old whap.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, Ev. I can see Ev's like, he's getting all itchy. He wants to go hunting right now, too. Now look at him. He's all like, oh, yeah, here we go.
This afternoon, I'm like,
all giddy.
It's that window, I mean, I've killed some deer in December, but man, it gets hard. And
oh yeah,
doing arrowing for sure.
I know it's like it kind of feels like it's like we're at the top. It's like the bell curve, It's like I feel like we're getting towards the top of the bell curve, and it's just like you want to try to, take advantage of every little thing you can,
Yeah, for sure.
Gosh darn. So Ev, one last thing. Do you got Ev or Jamie? Do you guys have any deer that you guys are just really trying to hone in on right now?
You wanna talk about next year just a little bit?
Oh yeah, I guess we could talk about next year. I'm sorry.
I'm asking. I'm really we didn't set this up. I'm looking at her like Jamie's kind of my boss, actually. She's the smarter one.
So she's the brains and you're the brawn. Is that what it is?
Probably sitting here like, dang it, why did you join, Jamie? Go do something else.
No. We got some cool new stuff. we won't go into detail, but we've already talked about it on some shows, so it's not like super secret. But light reflectance is as important as texture is. There's other ways to do it in less textured fabrics that we've found, and love everything about the brand, and thank you for all the great compliments. But it's very safe to say it's pretty much an outerwear brand. It's a cold weather outerwear brand, and that's been, we're solution-based people and a company, and we want to have a next to skin, solution, and we want to have a mid-layer solution, and we want to have a more active piece, and we kind of got it. So we had some new samples come in yesterday, and just kind of celebrating small and company, and the excitement you can have still as even as long as we've been in the industry, and we were high-fiving. I mean, it's freaking off the charts cool stuff coming out, and it's like completely a different extension of the brand and what it represents. And so I guess, as you can tell, we're pretty giddy about kind of phase 2.0 for our brand coming out next year.
Yeah, next year's going to be a big year.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
but as far as deer wise,
you're gonna want some, guys. I mean,
it's funny because
I wanted to wear it hunting. I was like, I brought these samples and I said, Jamie, I got to be in a tree in this. I just want to kind of know. And we've got a big presentation with Shields next week, and she's like, you are not.
No, next week.
She's like, you're gonna. I know you.
After
You're gonna.
seeing your cell phone, no.
You're gonna tear it. You're gonna rip it. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, as far as deer, it's funny you asked that question. So we had, out here, my husband and I, we had 2 deer that were on our hit list, and he actually harvested both.
Oh, there you go.
he's had a really good year. I'm now like, it's my turn now. I appreciate you. We
don't want the Dykmans hunting you.
I was gonna say, is that a hard thing for you two to do? Because it's funny, I joke with Nick, like, meaning, is it hard that you both are avid bow hunters? Because in my marriage, my wife doesn't like to hunt, right? She likes the idea of hunting. She lets me do whatever I want and lets me go way more than I should. She's a saint.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for her, she's amazing. But I joke with Nick, I said, yeah, man, just try to find a gal that doesn't like to hunt, because then you're going to have to try to share time, or like if you only have one target buck and then she gets it or you get it, like you create animosity. Like, is that ever hard for you guys? Or is it like, are you happy for either one, or is there like a competitive
we are so
streak?
blessed. I know this sounds super cheesy. It's not a competition. I just give him crap now because he's had such a crazy year.
He's still too, like,
giant, like his biggest year, it's just
awesome.
But I don't know, and of course I'm biased because he's my
first
husband.
Hour of opening day,
right? He's a hard working hunter and does it right. Like, and I'm so blessed to have learned from somebody like him.
He is dialed in. The epitome of dialed in.
But no, there's no competition, which is awesome. Like, if I were to harvest, one of those bucks, he'd be on cloud 9. I'm on cloud 9 for him. But now it's like, it's now, to the point where it's like, I don't know what's left out there. So we'll see what happens. But funny. It's actually a very good and healthy,
They're still kind of sandbaggers, though. It was like, it was like 10 days ago. There's just no deer around. Nothing.
He was so low, and he's like,
look at this. I got this one. It's like, that's pretty cool.
It's been a good...
3 days later, I got another one.
Yep. It's
that's
good,
definition sandbagger there. I think that is a definition of a sandbagger. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
We'll see. Hopefully, this is the weekend of rifle season, so that always serves it up for us bow hunters. Yep. But I'm sure there's some around for sure. But
in our state, you could bow hunt during rifle season. It used to not be that way. It used to be you had to shut down, and it's. My hats off to the Game and Parks Commission has allowed that, and so far it's been safe doing that way. You don't have to wear blaze orange when you're a bow hunter.
Really?
You do not.
Interesting.
But it's so far it's gone off fine. So
it's interesting how every state is so different with that. Like, we just talked to Zach Rinn. Minnesota, their gun season just came in this last week, and then their bow season shuts down, and then it's like super tough, And then I think
that's where it used to be in Nebraska.
And then Iowa, it's bow season. Iowa's kind of funny because you get all of October and November just bow hunting. And then they bring in the gun seasons and they shut down bow hunting. For those couple weeks, and then they bring back the second half of archery, late muzz.
Exactly.
That's interesting. So And and you felt like that's been pretty good, where you can be out there in a tree stand. Man, I like the idea of not wearing orange, because I hate orange. Oh, I just don't. I don't know what it is. I don't like people to see where I am. You know what I mean? I'm like, we were out the other day. I literally, if a car drives by, I'll like duck down. I just like duck down. He's like, what? I'm like, just duck down.
Yeah, I used to hunt. I would wear orange during this. Well, honestly, I wouldn't go out.
Yeah.
Like, this is the weekend that Gary and I usually are like, we're gonna take a break just because of the chaos. But now, I mean, depends on where you're at. If you have
and how much hunting pressure you have, and
yeah.
Well, and I think there's best practices. Even though it's not required, I still wear blaze orange into the tree. And then wear it out. I'm not wearing it while I'm sitting, but it's just I think and I'm pretty much aware of who's around where I'm at when I'm bow hunting, and I trust those people. But obviously, that's not widespread, and people get excited.
I used to do that with when I guided archery elk hunters. I just never wear it like normally, but then we get out of the truck, I put a blaze orange hat on.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, nice hat. I'm like, well, guess what?
That.
I don't want you to accidentally shoot me, or have the guy that we accidentally call in off this national forest come and shoot me either. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to wear this hat. I know it looks silly, but I don't care. And it definitely, you feel like just that little bit of security to know that they're going to probably see you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. You guys have target bucks you're going after?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, it's funny because you shouldn't even ask that question, because now we've got to talk for another 20 minutes.
Sorry.
No. But so basically, we've got 4 spots that we're hunting.
Yep.
We've got a public land spot that's a little bigger. Then we've got a smaller public land spot. Then we've got 2 permission pieces.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
And the one spot, the permission piece that I normally hunt, we had a couple nice bucks during the summer, and there has been nothing.
Yeah.
That farmer left all his corn in really late. He just took it out the other day. So that's made it really tough. We've got some really awesome scrapes that are going crazy right now. We just had a nice buck actually yesterday.
Yep.
But nothing like cranker.
Yeah.
But the other permission piece that we're actually going to be hunting this afternoon, Nick has permission for too. And so, I was kind of like, hey, hunt this. I don't usually hunt it very much. Like, there's other guys that hunt. There's other guys that hunt out there too. And so it was kind of like, well, and I was trying to be respectful of where they were. So we ended up kind of going on the other end of it. And there's 2 cranks out there right now. Just cranks. Well, actually, we'll put the pictures and the video up right now. We've actually had encounters with both of them.
Yeah.
Cool. One's a big mainframe 8
with a kicker off his G2.
Yeah, swoops way around to the front.
Yep.
And then we've got this big, he's like a big 10 with huge brows.
Yeah, probably like
cool.
8 to 10 inch brow tines.
Yeah. So we're trying to chase him, but the funny thing is what they've been doing is we were actually sitting across from them. There's a cedar thicket on top of this little knoll that goes back, and there's the river kind of bends right down through there, and they go into that cedar thicket. Well, we finally like, you know what? I always kind of joke about, at a certain point, you got to kind of stop hunting the wind and start hunting the deer.
Yeah.
And so, we actually have the wind right, but we actually set a stand right up against that cedar thicket.
Yep, getting a little aggressive.
Yep, we're getting aggressive. It's like now or never.
Yeah.
So we're going to go in there today, and we got a west wind, so hopefully maybe one of those guys steps out.
Yeah.
But then the other public land spots, we've got the small public land spot, there's 3 shooters that are probably like, 160, 150, 160 plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the big, yeah. And then the other big public spot,
and your other deer are bigger than those. Wow.
Yeah. And then the other public spot,
and
I'm not saying this, listen, I'm not trying to brag. Please, if you're listening to this, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you the facts. How many bucks are we up to on that one?
We have 43 different bucks now.
So we've been keeping track. We've been naming the bucks based on
chronologically
chronologically when they begin in front of the cameras. 2 cameras. How many are we at?
43.
Okay. But number 33 is the biggest, right?
Yeah, number 33 is the biggest by far.
Okay.
He's just a giant.
Yeah, he's big. And he's actually been in there now
last
again.
night.
Yep. And the night before.
Yep.
But in the middle of the night. And so he's way nocturnal, but which is weird because it's like on like Donkey Kong, and he's not with does ever. He's just on the scrapes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's probably, I don't know, like 3 or 4 bucks. There's only like 2 bucks that I would shoot, but there's probably like 5 or 6 that you would shoot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've got We don't know where to go.
Yeah.
We don't know where
Sounds
to go.
like you got options.
I've got 4 Iowa points, and I'll send you my cell number.
I was about to say, perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, but the other thing to say is none of these spots around here. They're 3 hours south of
they're
here.
really far away.
Way far away. Nope,
Yeah.
they're not.
Gotcha.
No, they're
Yeah.
actually right here. Yeah,
Can't get
I'm
this
just
from
trying.
here.
Yeah.
Can't get this from
There's
here.
people that listen like, okay, we're gonna go hunt North Iowa now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's big deer. That's a funny thing. There's big deer everywhere, man.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in Iowa, Nebraska, Ohio, Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin. There's big deer everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we just saw that thing from that Iowa Midwest or the Midwest Whitetail account on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Showing all the booners that have been shot in the last couple years.
2 years.
Wisconsin was number 1.
Yeah.
No.
I don't remember.
Iowa
I think
was a little ways down
Indiana
there.
was like
yeah.
2 or something.
Indiana was up there. Ohio was up there. So there's big deer everywhere. I mean, especially
Yeah.
this day and age. I feel like there's
Yeah.
so many people that are really trying to do this intentionally or unintentionally, kind of quality deer management.
Yeah. Yep.
That there's
Yeah.
just a lot. There's just a higher
There's a lot
caliber
more
of
big
deer
deer
that I
around.
feel like
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I was as a 39-year-old, maybe there were deer like this out there when I was 18, 19, but there probably was, because bow hunting when I was a kid, and Ev, you can probably attest to this. I remember being 16, 17 years old. You could go anywhere, knock on a guy's door and say, "Yeah,
Pretty
hi, my
close.
name's Cole.
Yeah.
Can I bow hunt?" They would laugh at you. They were like, "You're a bow hunter?" They're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead." They didn't even care. They were
Yeah.
like, because Iowa was such a shotgun only type thing.
Yep.
That you could bow hunt everything. You had the
Right.
run of the mill. You know what I mean? And now it's kind of the complete opposite.
Yeah, definitely.
Bow hunting has gotten so popular. But anyway, well, Ev and Jamie, thank you so much for being on
Awesome,
the
you guys.
podcast.
Yeah,
I really,
thanks for
really
the
do
opportunity.
appreciate it. Like I said,
Thanks
check
for all
out
the
Code
support,
of,
you guys.
yeah,
Been
yeah,
great.
yeah. Check out codeofsilence.com. Like I said, comment on any of the videos. If you have any questions, like I said, obviously Jamie and Ev are there to answer questions. If you run into us at the consumer shows, we'll be able to talk about it a lot too.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think that's it.
Cool.
On
Thank
the
you.
podcast.
Appreciate you
Thanks,
guys.
Ev. Thanks, Jamie.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Have a
Yeah.
great day.
Good luck.
Good
Let us
luck.
know how it goes.
Yeah.
Thanks.